AREP ATL. AREP ATL.
African American Real Estate Professionals of Atlanta.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for attending our first LinkedIn Live Juneteenth celebration. We are so excited to talk about the importance of wealth generation in Black communities and how we can achieve our financial goals through real estate. My name is Renata Bell, and I work as a tenant representation broker in the Atlanta Cushman Wakefield office. And I also serve as president of the Atlanta chapter of African American Real Estate Professionals. African American Real Estate Professionals, affectionately known as AREP, has been in existence for 26 years. Our headquarters are located in DC, and we are a national organization with 10 chapters in various stages of development. AREP ATL is a nonprofit organization whose mission is to advance current and emerging commercial real estate leaders from diverse backgrounds through exposure to industry resources, relationships, mentorship, community outreach projects, scholarships, business development, and career opportunities while providing a diverse talent pool to corporations. Please visit our website at www.aarepatl.org/events to see what we are up to and how we give back and empower our people. Juneteenth recognizes the practical end of slavery in our country after many years of bloody strife. Juneteenth recognizes that all Black men, women, and children enslaved would finally be liberated on paper. As we know, the full fruits of freedom for them, for all who were once enslaved and their descendants elsewhere in the country, would be delayed time and time again by institutional and structural oppression. Juneteenth calls us to remember and to recommit ourselves to the ongoing pursuit of equity and racial justice. We are reminded that the historic deprivation of the right to self-determination continues to challenge our society today, and we are positioned to facilitate change. AREP is committed to creating more opportunities for minorities in commercial real estate by directly impacting our communities. So let's talk about the importance of real estate in the Black community. Real estate is how you obtain a foundation in generational wealth. Wealth is the difference between what is owned and what is owed. And the wealth gap in the United States is vastly unequally distributed. Black people have a fraction of the wealth in our country, which leaves us in a much more precarious financial situation when crisis strikes, and with fewer economic opportunities. Wealth is not only a question of financial savings, it provides access to the political process and therefore exerts political influence. Households with wealth have a measure of economic security and can donate time and money, thereby influencing the political process and the policies that are important to their communities. It is your job to take advantage of the resources available to you so you can leave something of value to your future legacy. By being here today, you are laying the foundation for a generational wealth trajectory for your family. So let's shift gears a little bit. Please remember that AREP is a networking organization. I challenge you to connect with 10 new people on LinkedIn today. We are coming together to celebrate our emancipation as a people, but the next step toward excellence is up to us. Take advantage of this platform and level yourself up. We will be here to support you on your journey. Now, without further ado, I am honored to introduce our guest, DJ Envy, who is a nationally recognized real estate investor and host of The Breakfast Club, which is a nationally syndicated radio show with over 8 million listeners per month, and 50% of them are Black. Our moderator is Egwu Nwankpah, who is our fearless leader and head of Supplier Diversity at Cushman and Wakefield. I have great respect for these gentlemen, and now you will see why. Let the celebration begin.
Hello, 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 hello. Welcome, everybody. Thanks to my good friend Renata for that inspiring introduction. She's truly one of the rising stars at our firm, Cushman and Wakefield, where I'm from. I wanted to thank everybody at AREP for making me feel like such a part of the group. I'm a member now, and I enjoy membership. I was in Atlanta last week. I want to also give a shout out to some of our executive sponsors, Mr. Todd Schwartz, Mr. Toby Dodd of our tri-state leadership, and also my team with Supplier Diversity that is sponsoring today. Today, you get to hear from a very good brother. Very happy to have a conversation in public with this man. When I think of justice, when I think of social justice, I think of my good sister Tamika Mallory. When I think of Lee Merritt, I think of justice. When I think of economic justice, I think of DJ Envy and what he's done for our community as far as pushing real estate and knowledge of real estate and the supply chain and all of that. So I thought that with us being in Black Music Month and Juneteenth also being here, the perfect person to speak to was Mr. DJ Envy. So without further ado, I'll bring to the stage, hailing from Queens, Mr. DJ Envy.
How's it going?
It's good to see you.
Thanks for having me, man. Good to see you too, bro.
Yeah, so we'll get right into it. Everybody in the chat, you can applaud by putting in where you're in from. We have a few hundred people on the live, so I think everyone wants to hear the things that we're trying to say and talk about right now. Let's get into it. So you're from Queens. Growing up in Queens, when you think back, what are the different things when you think about renting and owning that you were taught by where you grew up at?
I wasn't really taught anything real estate growing up. I don't think my parents necessarily had the knowledge. I'm the first person in my family to go to college and the first person to graduate Hampton University. So for them, I was lucky enough when my mom and dad did own their home. Probably about 3 weeks before I was born, they purchased a home in Queens. They told me all the time that house was $29,500.
Wow.
My dad had to take out 2 loans at the time. My mom had to take out a loan, and they were able to have that crib. They didn't know anything about home ownership or anything like that. To this day, my parents still live in that same house. They paid it off, and that's to them was their way of creating generational wealth, right? Because when they passed, their whole idea was to give me that home, that house. And I had to learn different ways of doing it. So, that was my first introduction to real estate. I knew that when I got married or I became a quote unquote adult, that I had to own my own property because that's what I seen my parents do.
So you went to Hampton University as one of the HUs. I won't say it's the real HU or the fake HU. I'm just saying it's one of them, right? When you go to Hampton, and I know a lot about Hampton, so I know that at one point you were dressing up every day to go to the School of Business in full professional attire. How did that change kind of your outset about wealth and things like that with the people that you were exposed to from all around the country and all around the world?
Yeah, so when I was in Hampton, and I tell everybody this now, when I was in school, I didn't necessarily get the knowledge that I wanted to, right? And the reason I say that is because when I went to school to pass, not to actually understand and get the knowledge that I should have got. I wish I can go back to school now and get all that knowledge that I was not paying attention to and really just studying to pass. A lot of times we study to pass and not to actually learn. But with Hampton University, for myself, it was more about business and marketing, right? So when I went to school, I knew I was going to be a DJ, and I was praying, and I knew I put in the atmosphere that I was going to be successful. But I knew that when I got money, I needed to know what to do with that money.
Sure.
I needed to know when it became to business, I needed to know how I was going to market myself. So that was my mind frame when I went to Hampton University, to learn the marketing aspect and the business aspect, not necessarily the real estate aspect of life.
Okay. So you were DJing before you went there, but describe kind of what you were thinking about down the road with DJing. Let's go into kind of like the teenage you and the young adult you. Like, what were you thinking forward that DJing was going to do?
For me, my dad is a retired police officer now. My mother worked for Guardian Life Insurance, and I used to see them come home and they hated their job, right? They hated to work extra shift. My dad had to work Thanksgiving. He had to work holidays, Christmas, and they necessarily didn't like it. They did it because they had to. And I told myself I didn't want to do that. I wanted to be free. I wanted to do what I wanted to do. And DJing was my way of doing it. And I always used to look around at so many different people. And, you know, the way people were really rich or wealthy was a couple of ways. One was oil. And if anybody's on this chat from Queens, you know, we don't have oil in our backyards in Queens. So I was like, that's not going to be it. The other was real estate. And I just had to figure out how to do it. In my industry, if you look at your favorite athlete or your favorite artist, your favorite rapper or your favorite entertainer, a lot of them become broke. And the reason they become broke, because when you come in this industry, you have to create your own retirement. There is no 401k. There is nobody putting money to the side like a lot of other jobs. You have to create your own. So a lot of times when they give athletes, artists, entertainers money, they give them a big lump sum at first, right? They give them a couple $1 million and you're hot at first. And then when you become ice cold, if you didn't create yourself a retirement plan, you're messed up and you had to figure it out. And I did not want that to be me. So that's what made me say, you know what, I'm going to jump into this real estate game. And I just started looking for real estate. And being from Queens, there was nothing around. I couldn't afford anything in Queens. I couldn't afford anything in Manhattan. I couldn't afford anything in Long Island. So I looked in New Jersey. And there was a town called West Milford. And West Milford was where they shot the Jason and Freddie movies. That's what it looked like, swamplands. And I bought my first house. The first house was $432,000. I knew nothing about it. And at the time, I was able to get a no-doc loan. And shout to Busta Rhymes. Busta Rhymes was a friend of mine. And he told me he had a guy that can get me approved from a no-doc loan and I could get into this house. And that's what I did. My interest rate at the time was 18%. Again, I knew nothing. Busta Rhymes said I can get a house, no doc, and 18%. I'm probably paying more for the house I live in now, or more for that house than I pay for the house I'm living in now. That's how high the percentage rates were. So after about 4 months of living there, it was too far from the city. I would have to drive to the city and I would fall asleep on the way home. Funny story was when I moved in, it was 4th of July week and 103 degrees that day. And I went to click on the air conditioner wouldn't come on. My dad was there and we went to figure out why. And when he read the contract, we realized that he realized the house said air conditioning ready. There was no air conditioning units in it. It was ready for air conditioning, but there was no units. These are the things that I didn't know. So we lived in the house for about 4 months and I think I paid $420 for it, somewhere around there. And then when I sold it for $480. I made $60,000 in a couple of months. And I was like, this is amazing. I bought another home. And then I lived in that house for a year. I sold that house and I made $180,000. And at that point, I'm like, wow, I might just forget of music because I'm making more money flipping houses and it's not dangerous. I ain't got to leave my house. And that's where the love came of real estate.
That's dope. So when we look at Black home ownership, it's 45%. If you look at Black household wealth, it's 1/20th of our white counterparts. When you were starting to make these moves in real estate, who was your crew? Like, who did you have in that first house to help you put in the air conditioner, right? Because the air conditioner ready, or did you flip it without it? Who became your handyman, your plumber, your real estate agent? How did you put together a team of all these people?
So when I first started, the crew was Rashawn Casey and Gia Casey. That was me and my wife. That was the crew. We didn't know what we were doing. We were just trying to figure it out like anybody else. We were the plumbers. We were the handyman. We were everything. The painters. We were everything. We just had to figure it out. And what wound up happening is we started growing. And I realized that I couldn't afford New York, New Jersey. At the time, that's when the market fell. And I had a couple of properties that I was trying to flip. And it wasn't that people weren't buying cribs. People weren't able to get loans at the time. Because nobody could get a loan. And I remember back then I was DJing everything. I was DJing Sweet 16, bar mitzvahs, quinceañeras, whatever they call it. I was DJing everything, mall jobs, anything I could possibly do to make sure I can hold on to these cribs. I finally sold them, and I told myself I'm never getting into real estate again. I was definitely hurt by it. And then I started the Breakfast Club. Breakfast Club started doing great. We started being syndicated in all these markets. And Angela Yee, my co-host, started dating somebody that lived in Detroit. When she started dating this gentleman, he was telling me that there were houses in Detroit that they would get from the land bank for like $1,000, $2,000, and that they can sell for $5,000 to $10,000. I'm from New York. A house for $5,000 to $10,000 doesn't even seem right. So I flew down there to check it out, and that's exactly what it was. It was a home for $10,000. And I'm talking about, a 5,500 square feet house, 3,500 square foot house. And I'm like, this is crazy. So I bought like 3, 4 of them. And I didn't know what I was doing. I just paid the taxes and cut the grass. I had no idea, but I knew that this was what I wanted to do. At the same time, I was doing my homework, and Dan Gilbert, which is the owner of the Cleveland Cavaliers and Quicken Loans, he's from Detroit. He started building Detroit up. And I could see the property values just checking Zillow all day long going up. So I said, you know what? Let me jump into fixing this house up. I started reaching out, and I found a contractor. And I didn't do my due diligence. And he started fixing up the house. I'm looking at a FaceTime one time, and I see sparkly stuff on the back of the wall, on the bedroom wall. So I asked him what that is. He was like, oh, no, it's coming together long. So I flew down there to check it out, and he was putting bathroom tile on the wall. He did that because he said that was his style, and that's he thought was fly. So obviously I fired him, and I just closed that house up, and I just started paying the taxes. I waited for about a year, and the property value shot up in Detroit. So that property that I paid $5,000 to $10,000 was now worth $180,000, not fixed. $250,000, $280,000 if I fixed it. So I sold all 4 properties, made a ish ton of money, and it got me really excited about the game. At the same time, I met my partner. I'm in my office now. I met my partner. His name was Caesar. He was doing the same thing in Paterson, New Jersey, but he was well more advanced than I was. He heard me on the radio talking about it. And the reason why I talk about it so much is because I wanted my people to start investing in homes. I wanted them not to buy bags anymore, and not to buy cars, not to buy jewelry. And all that is okay. But I just want them to make sure that they were okay. And I try to tell everybody, if you want to buy something, a car, jewelry, whatever it may be, please do so, but get an investment to pay for that. Like I tell everybody all the time, if I want to buy a car, if I want to buy something that's outside of an investment, I make sure my investment pays for that. And that's what I was preaching. He called me up and he said, I'm on the same thing. He says, I do the same thing that you did in Detroit, in New Jersey. And when I went to his office, I was jealous, not because of the money he made, but because when I went into his office, he had all his family members working for him. He had his brother. His brother was a property manager. His sister-in-law was doing real estate and being a realtor. He had another cousin doing contractor work. So here I am as a person, my family's calling me to ask for money. He's teaching his family how to make money. And I love that idea. So we started working together, and then we just started buying properties in Atlantic City. We started buying properties in Paterson, in all parts of New Jersey, in Chicago, in Milwaukee, more in Detroit, in Florida. And we just started doing it, and it became very lucrative. And I said, I want to start teaching my people. So what I started seeing these people doing these seminars where they allegedly teach people how to do real estate. And they were charging people $3,000, $6,000, $10,000 to get in. And it bothered me because I felt like if you had $10,000, I'd rather you put it into a property. And if you're going to lose it in that property, opposed to losing it at a seminar. At a seminar where they charge you $3,000 to get in, they teach you a little bit of information. And then if you want more information, you got to pay a little more. That bothered me. So we said, all right, well, let's do our own seminar and we'll charge $99. And instead of, you have to pay more to speak to more people, we're going to bring those people to you. So we're going to bring a representative from auction.com where I buy the properties. We're going to bring appraisals. We're going to bring hard money lenders and conventional lenders. We're going to bring credit repair. And we're going to bring it all to you and let them talk. And you can ask them questions. You can get their business card and charge nobody else extra. And then the seminars went through the roof, and the rest is history.
When you think about the seminars, and since we have a lot of people on the live, one of the things I always like is success stories that you got from there, where someone comes up to you and says, last year I went to your seminar and I bought a house. I bought my first house. Or last year I made my first property investment and it's made me X. You want to tell them some of this? Because I'm going to open it up for questions soon to the viewers. So I want to make sure I get that one in.
Yeah, I mean, we get so many people. And I tell everybody, every time I post about a seminar that we're doing, I always say, if you've been to one of our seminars, tell us what you thought in the comments. Because the comments I can't change. I can't change your opinion on the comments. And people actually say, yo, Envy. And I run into people all day. I've been to one of your seminars, and because of you, I bought my first house. I bought my first investment property. I bought my first 3-family. I bought my first this. I bought my first that. And that's my way of saying, yes, we finally did it. And you know, because there's so many people that do seminars and so many people that do podcasts. But if you ask them what they actually own, 90% of them own nothing. 90% of them have never done it. 90% are only answering the same questions that they heard on the internet, because at the end of the day, it becomes a way to make money. See, the difference between me, my partner, and them is we actually do it. Right now, I'm in my office. This is my real estate car show office, and all I do is real estate in my car show. We talk about different properties, different places we're going to attack, how we're going to build up this community, you know, collecting rent from here. And I'm learning more and more and more about the game. I own close to 300 units. My partner owns over 2,000 units. And there's always information to learn. And I enjoy helping people and making sure that they, you know, can help their kids and create generational wealth for their family as well.
So right now, are you mostly owning units, leasing, renting, or do you still flip and do both? Because I think a lot of people are trying to figure out what is the best way how to get money. Is it, should I be buying and leasing out to people, or should I be flipping?
There's different things to do. I mean, what I do, and I can only tell what I do. So if it's 2 units or less, I flip. If it's 3 units or more, I keep. And that's because 3 units or more is going to bring me more money on rent. And when I flip, I only usually flip if I can make between $80,000 and $100,000. If I can't make that, I don't flip. So now, where I get the properties from, I only buy houses wholesale. I will not buy retail. I don't want to talk to a realtor. I don't want to talk to anybody that's going to give me a market value home. For me, that's not going to make me any money. I need to make sure that if something happens, the market changes, anything happens, there's something in the house that I didn't predict, I'm still good. So usually when I get my properties, it's usually from the land bank. It's usually from, you know, auction.com. It's bank owned. It's foreclosed on. It's somebody that's going through a little distress. Those are the properties that I look for. If I can't find those properties, I don't rush. I'm patient. I will wait. Now with life, I do that the same way. Even with cars, I buy my cars the same way. You know, everything is a business. You have to make sure you get out of it immediately. You know, and I talk to people that know more than I do. Right now, I have a friend of mine in here that he does cars, and his whole life is cars. So he's going to know more than I am. Whether it's a Honda Civic, Mercedes, or BMW, he'll say, Envy, this is the car you need to get this at this price. You need to purchase it, and we'll flip it. And I do. And I've been doing good with all of it. So I always talk to people that are smarter than me in that particular thing, because they're going to guide me and help me out. But I live life with, I have to buy it under market value. It has to be wholesale prices. If not, I won't take it.
Yeah, that's deep. I guess, and I'm going to ask you one more question. All of you that are watching and listening, please, at this time, put your questions in. Our producer will put them up on the screen, and then we'll ask them. One of the things I was going to ask you about, you know, I'm in Supplier Diversity. One of the things that we do is look to always employ people in the communities we do business in. What's your strategy for local, like patronizing local businesses in your supply chain when you're doing all sorts of, whether you're keeping, upkeeping, or selling or flipping?
Okay. When it comes to our properties, we have a team. I don't believe in hiring a contractor. And the reason being is this, and no disrespect if there's any contractors here, but when I think of a contract, I think of con. And I'll be honest with you, usually what a contractor does is they take my money to finish your project, and then they take his money to finish my project. And a lot of times people get burnt. So what I do is this, and it takes a little bit more knowledge, it takes a little bit more time. But when I'm building a house or I'm doing something, I buy the supplies myself, whether it's lumber, whether it's roofing, whether it's flooring, cabinetry, paint, whatever it may be, nuts, bolts, whatever, I buy it myself. So now I'm only paying you as a contractor for what you do. At the end of the week, you're paid just like everybody else. If you worked 20 hours a week, I pay you for your 20 hours. You don't need any money up front because I'm buying the supplies. Takes a little time, but it saves you a lot of money. So when it comes to your question of what you say about asking, I usually have my own team. But how do you give back to the community? And this is with my car shows, this is with our seminars, and this is with the buildings or whatever we buy. We always do something in that market. Whether it's, if you look at it, if you follow us in what we do in Atlantic City, we do toy drives, we do backpack giveaways, we sponsor the basketball teams. Same thing we do in New Jersey and Patterson. Same thing we do in Detroit. Same thing we do in Chicago and Milwaukee. Whatever we make money at, whatever city that we do, we give back. And that's because that's just right. Same thing with the car shows. If I do a car show in any city, any market, we make sure we give back to that community as well.
Okay. All right. So, Sheldon, producer man, put up any questions, or else I can keep asking him. Oh, so Aisha wants to know when is the next seminar?
The next seminar is July 31st in New York City at the Jacob Javits Center. We bring so many people. So not only do I talk and I tell you my strategies, and my partner Caesar talks and talks about his strategy, and we don't just talk about it. So we show you, like, this is the house that we bought. We paid this much for this house. You know, like for instance, I had a three family in New Jersey. So I know a lot of you guys don't know the difference between different families and this, that, and the other. A unit is a family, we call it in New Jersey. So 1 level was a 3 family, 2 level a 3 family, 3 level was a 3 family. But we wanted to make more money off that property. So what we were able to do is we got a permit and we built on the back of it because we had the land. So we built a studio on the back. So 1 studio, 2 studio, 3 studios. So instead of just getting 3 rents a month, now we get 6 rents a month. That's the way we do it. But we explain that and break that down. We also have different speakers that come up there, and they're going to be talking about different ways that they make money, from wholesaling to flipping to tenants to Airbnbs. And we bring that. But the seminar is July 31st in New York City, Jacob Javits Center. You can click the link in my bio if you want more information. We don't do online sessions because, I'll be honest with you, I hate online sessions. I like to see people, touch people, talk to people, let them see my face. I can see their face. We can ask questions. And what we're going to do something different this year is, so many people come to me about investing. They want to know how to invest. I don't like to help people invest in unless they're actually going to be there to do it. Because I feel like if I just take your money and invest for you, you'll never learn. So we're going to start some type of fund where we actually help people invest, where, you know, they can invest as little as $100 and they'll make return on that $100. We'll show them exactly what to do it. We'll guide them through it. So they'll actually be an owner with us. And we're going to do that too in this year too, just to help people out.
Okay. Sheldon, do you assist with renters in becoming homeowners? If so, how?
No, we don't assist with renters in becoming homeowners. We teach people and we explain to them, but we don't have any programs where people rent. I know some people do that where they can rent to own. We don't necessarily do that. We teach people how. We give them the opportunity. We give them the tools. We give them the fact that they can, FHA loans where they don't have to pay as much money, put as much money down. They can only put 3% down. We try to help them with grants, but no, we don't assist renters in becoming owners. We don't do that.
No, no online sessions. We already answered that. When question, I know the car show's coming to, I think, Houston this week, right?
Father's Day weekend. Juneteenth is Sunday.
Is there any thoughts about, some of the cities that you go to the car show hitting the same ones? Because I think one of the things that we're finding as the world became digital when we were stuck inside, a lot of people are looking for the things they used to be able to only get in New York or only get in New Jersey. So any thoughts about bringing that national?
Yeah, well, we did take the seminar on the road. We've been to Detroit, Houston, LA. We've been to Charlotte. We've been to a bunch of different places. And they've all been pretty huge, a couple thousand people. Even with the car show, we like to go to places where we see our people. So the reason why I even started the car show is, if you think about the international car show is not for us, right? And when I mean not for us, it's not our culture, meaning you're going to see basic, boring cars. And if you want to go into one of these cars, the dealership 9 times out of 10, if you haven't bought cars from them, or you're not somebody that they feel has a lot of money, they're not going to let you in. And that's not our culture. Our culture is, my first car was a 1986 Honda Accord. I worked all summer long to put 16-inch rims in it and a system in the back. That's what I want to see at the car shows. That's what makes people like, damn, I remember that as a kid. And that's what we have at our car show. We'll have an 86 Honda Accord. We'll have a Mitsubishi Eclipse, but we'll also have a Bugatti, a Bentley, a Ferrari. And these kids will get a chance to see these cars and talk to different people that own these cars so they can get the motivation, like I got the motivation, and realize that I don't have to sell drugs. I don't have to play basketball to be successful. And that's what we want to put in some of these kids here.
One of the things that I've been noticing is there's a movement for the short-term rental market, where a lot of people, especially friends I know in New York, are really into Airbnbs and things like that. How has that affected your business as far as what's available? Do you see a lot of people entering the market now to try to, take flips away and make them into Airbnbs?
I mean, a lot of people do, no matter where you are. I don't mind the Airbnb, and I don't get into the Airbnb game, but at the actual seminar, we do have people that talk about Airbnb. I don't get into it. And the problem is, I'll be honest with you, for myself, I'm a liability, meaning I'm a big name. So if something happens at my property or something happens, even though I can create LLCs to block me and to hide, people will attack. And I try to stay away from that. So I don't do the Airbnb thing. It's a big headache for myself. I know a lot of people do. A lot of people are successful with that. And it's like with anything in life. Some things might be good for you, just not good for me. I just like to have tenants. I have a property manager. I don't have to change a toilet. If a toilet breaks, I don't have to shovel snow. I don't have to pick up rent. Between the 1st and the 5th, they drop off the rents. I said, thank you, and keep it moving.
And so most of your properties don't even know you're the owner, right? So that's another lesson in how to have an LLC and things like that to kind of shield you from both sides. One other thing I wanted to ask you about it before, I know there's people are pinging me that they're trying to ask a question, but this is my time. I'm the one who asked them to come. One of the things that I want to ask you about is what is the end strategy for you, or is there no end? Do you want to own bigger and better, start owning, business buildings in New York City, or what is your real estate goal? Like, is it to keep doing what you're doing now? Or
I'll be honest with you, I don't have a goal. I'm happy. I just want to be happy. And this is who I am. I don't. If I own a skyscraper in New York, so be it. But my goal really is to make sure my kids are good. That is my goal. And when I say that is, my daughter goes to NYU and she's taking real estate as a major, right? And I have a bunch of real estate properties. When she graduates out of college, she will be running that real estate business. That's what she wants to do. But she doesn't have to do anything she doesn't want to do. Life is short. And at the end of the day, I just want my kids and my family to be happy. Money means nothing if you're not happy. Money means nothing if you're not healthy. So for myself, I just want her to run that part of the business. She runs that part of the business. Then when I create the car show, my whole idea of the car show is to create it like the international car show, go to different cities, different markets. My son, he's 18. He goes to high school right now. He's a senior. He loves cars. Hopefully he runs that part of the business. So now my daughter might bring in a couple of million a year. My son might bring in a couple of million a year. I'm opening a dispensary. Well, with that business, my other child hopefully will run. And just keep creating businesses so that if something ever falls, these other businesses can hold that one business up, so that no matter what, my family will be happy and be okay. Because at the end of the day, it's just being happy.
That's a good word right there. Sheldon, give us another one. What markets are you targeting for investment right now?
I like Chicago, and around the area where they are building the Barack Obama library. That's a great area right now. It's still not too high. I like Milwaukee. Milwaukee reminds me of what Detroit was a couple of years ago. So you can find properties for cheap, $5, $10, $20, $30,000. And those are the areas I'm looking at now. I like Atlantic City. They're trying to push a lot of money towards Atlantic City, and they're doing more and more events there. So I like Atlantic City. I'm that type of guy. I like the markets that nobody cares about, that everybody hates, that everybody goes, oh, that's disgusting. And then hopefully, it could turn, But like I said, that's why I buy so far under market value, because even if it doesn't turn, I'm already in the green.
With that, one other add-on to that question, what is your thoughts kind of about, everyone's preaching doom and gloom about an upcoming recession. How are you kind of buttressing yourself for there? Or do you feel secure already because you got it undervalued?
Well, that's part of it too. You got a lot of people that are paying way over for homes right now. And if there is a recession and prices do drop, like we're seeing in cars and we're seeing in watches right now, and if that does happen, there's going to be a lot of people upside down. So for myself, I'll be honest with you, I'm just looking for great deals, and I'm stacking. Because if a recession does hit, like it happened, in 2004, 2005, whenever that time was, I wish I had enough capital to buy all those homes. My partner, Caesar, he was able to buy a bunch of properties. I mean, he was buying 10-unit buildings for, 80, 90,000. And those buildings right now are worth 900,000. He was able to snatch them up. So if I can do the same, I'm just going to, continue to do it. I'm just, waiting for my turn.
Okay. Sheldon, please. What do you see what do you see for the future of Detroit growth wise, considering the declining population?
I mean, I like Detroit. I mean, the good thing about Detroit is Detroit has a lot of areas that need to be cleaned up. Detroit is like any other urban city right now. They're having a lot of problems with violence, but that's happening in everywhere: Chicago, Detroit, New York. But I do like Detroit, and I think Detroit is a great market where you can kind of put your toe into a market and not have to spend too much money and see how you like it. Dan Gilbert and Quicken Loans, and they're really putting a lot of money into it. I think the pandemic made a lot of people want to leave certain areas. I mean, people were leaving New York, flying to, heading to Florida, leaving Detroit, heading to Florida. I like Detroit. I like the city. I do a lot of business in that city. I own part of some cannabis stuff in that city. So I like what Detroit's doing.
Okay. Sheldon, next one. How much money do you recommend a first-time investor save before purchasing their first property?
I mean, I think that's up to you and what the price of the house is. The one thing that I learned that I learned from Caesar that I was doing wrong is I was using my own money to buy and flip and fix. And once Caesar taught me how I didn't have to use my own money, I became a beast with it. So for simple math, right? And I'm just gonna break it down quickly. Let's say there's a house that I'm buying for $100,000, right? That house is worth $500,000. To fix that house up, it's about $100,000 to fix that house up, right? So if you go to any bank to get that loan, 9 times out of 10, you got to put 20% down. 20% of $100,000 is $20,000 you got to come out of your pocket, let's say. Now, anybody will do the construction loan. If you get an approval for construction loan, they give you 100% of rehab, right? So when I go to buy that house, I never say that I need $100,000 to fix that house. I'll say 130. Reason I say 130 is for these reasons right here. 9 times out of 10, when I close, at closing, the first draw will probably be a third of that money that they're giving me, which will be about $20,000, $30,000. So if I come to the table at $20,000 and then I'm leaving with $20,000, how much money am I actually putting down? Nothing. So now I just bought that house with putting nothing down easily. Now they say, well, why do you ask for the additional $30,000? The reason I ask for the additional $30,000 is when I have to pay that loan back every month, I'm using its own money to pay them back on their own loan. So now I just got a house. I'm using the bank's money. I'm using their own money to pay them back. And now everything is a profit. And I do that for every deal that I possibly can. So when I try to do these deals, I use other people's money. I use my equity to pay what I have to pay. So when let's say I'm going to tenant that crib out, or, I pull the equity out, I pay off the loan, and that equity that I get, instead of buying one property, I try to buy 3 more the same way. And I just keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. If this was my full-time job, I'd probably have a zillion properties. But since I have 6 kids, car business, the breakfast club, parties, speaking engagements, I wish I could. And that's the reason why I want to teach my daughter, because I want her to be a beast with it.
That's a good question. Sheldon?
Yes, I create an LLC for each property. Each property, my accountant, I know it hates me, but for each property, I create a different LLC. Absolutely, positively. That's the reason you create a LLC, limited liability, right? You don't want nobody to sue. You don't want anybody to trip on a curb or nothing like that. You just want to be well protected. And also, even when you buy your own personal house, put it in an LLC for a couple of reasons. One, so nobody knows who you name. They can't Google your name and find you. And 2, if you ever get any problem with IRS, they can't take your property if it's an LLC. If it's a personal, they can take it all day long.
That's free jewelry for you right there. Okay, Sheldon, one more. I mean, keep going, actually. We got time. What are your thoughts on buy, hold versus fix and flips?
Like I said earlier, if you just walked in, 2 families or less, I flip. 3 or more, I keep. I like keeping properties because it's residual income each and every month. It is what it is. 1st and the 5th is Christmas to me every month,
Yeah. And I would add there too on the LLCs, They're actually inexpensive. So I think it sounds expensive to people to start an LLC, but it's not expensive at all to start one.
Yeah, you can do it yourself. You don't need an attorney, a tax attorney to do it. My assistant does it. I call her, create an LLC. What's the name of your boss? Da-da-da. Okay, done. You know, it's really simple.
Sheldon, again, please. Who do you work with when you do sell?
And that's part of, like I said earlier, having your own team. We have, you know, in-house realtors that do everything, so I don't have to pay the high interest rates that most people do, or I don't have to cut off, you know, give a big percentage of my cut. They all work in-house, so we kind of just rock and roll.
Okay. Sheldon again. Sheldon. Multifamily. So I actually want to talk about that because, you know, obviously that's part of what we do at Cushman. I might add the world's premier commercial real estate firm. We do multifamily, large multifamily. That's part of our business. What's the biggest you own? I know you're talking about 3 families and stuff like that. And what do you and let's talk about kind of scaling upward to that and how. I know you said your partner owns a lot of those also.
The biggest one I own is a 70 unit. It's a school. It's actually a school. We paid $1 million for the school and turned each classroom into a unit. And I'll be honest with you, we treat all the multifamily just like the regular. It's the same. It's the same thing. Obviously, of course, you need more permits to get things. You can't. Some of the things that I could do with a smaller multi-unit, I can't do with that. But it's pretty much the same thing: fix, flip, sell, or rent out, pull the equity out, and do it again. So that one is a little different because with that one, we had to buy the houses around it to make sure that we could have enough parking. So there's other things that you have to do. We had to make sure we had sprinkler systems in there. But I think that one property brings in about $45,000 a month, probably my biggest property. And I don't even see that money. I just put it in the bank, and that's my kids' money.
Okay, we'll take that one last question on the LLC. I think the question is, do you open an LLC in the state where the property is located, or it can be in a different state?
We usually open it up in the state where we're buying the property.
Okay.
And that's pretty easy too. And the same thing with cars. I tell people all the time, I put my cars in an LLC. And if you have a business in Montana, it's pretty smart because if you own a business in Montana, you don't have to pay taxes on that car. So you think about it, like I bought a $1 million Porsche, and I bought it in my business in LLC, and I didn't have to pay taxes on it.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you, my brother, again. I know this is a crazy week for you.
Yeah.
Coming out and doing all that stuff. If you are in Houston, I asked you to go out to the car show. You'll enjoy yourself. It's always a good time. I appreciate it. I want to say one more thank you to you for everything you've done for the community, for the knowledge you dropped, the gems you've been dropping, and always being around and everybody for the community. It's something that I don't take for granted, and I appreciate.
Well, thank you guys so much. And I would say this too. If you guys are interested in learning more, July 31st is going to be a great conversation in the Jacob Javits Center. There's going to be so many speakers, and also look out for that fund that I'm talking about, because I think it's going to be a great way where we can actually learn and I can show you guys. So it's easy for me to say, but if you say, Envy, here's $100 and you donate that, well, not donate, but you put the $100 into that home, you get to see how the money works, what gets paid. And I think that's a dope way to do it. And hopefully a lot of people will learn. I will say one other question is, somebody asked about affordable housing, right? Or getting money from the government. I do not do affordable housing. I don't do it. The reason why I don't do it is because if there's a problem, a situation, a toilet doesn't work, you didn't shovel the snow, any accident that happens in that house, whether it's anything, they won't pay you. And then you have to fight to get that money back. I just don't do it. A lot of people love it because, like, during the pandemic, they automatically get paid, and that's fine. It's just certain things that I stay away from because, sometimes somebody can be living in your apartment and don't tell you that there's a leak, or they don't tell you that there's a crack, or you don't see that there's a problem because you don't go in that person's apartment. And because of that, somebody could say, I'm not paying it. We just stay away from it. And a lot of times we only go into places where they are landlord friendly, meaning people, what people have to understand is although that, we are all here, if you guys are on here, you guys are real estate investors. If you guys are here, what you have to understand is, even though we have good hearts and we try to help people and we try to build our community, a lot of times people are not for that same thing. So people will find loopholes to stay in your property for 3-4 years without paying a single dollar. And I've seen it happen to so many investors. They didn't do their due diligence. They didn't do their homework, and people are staying in properties for 9 months without paying. And although it seems funny and it seems cool, yeah, I cannot pay, but at the end of the day, you as a landlord, you have to pay that mortgage. And if I'm not getting rent from you because I can't pay it, I lose that property. So I would just say, just make sure you do your due diligence, and good luck to everybody out there. And I can't wait to see you guys, and hopefully we all, popping champagne and all teaching our kids and grandkids and great-great-grandkids how to create more and more generational wealth.
Absolutely. And I appreciate you again, brother. I'm going to pass it back to Renata in Atlanta. And thanks everybody for coming out. I appreciate all the people in the crowd that I see, a lot of friends. So we'll pass it back to Renata.
Thank you.
Thank you, Egwu and DJ Envy, for this amazing exchange of information. Thank you, Cushman Wakefield, for sponsoring our much-needed Juneteenth celebration. If you are interested in a career in commercial real estate brokerage, there are several disciplines within that niche which you can explore. You can focus on leasing and represent the landlord, or you can work as a tenant representation broker and represent the building occupier, which is what I do. You could work as an acquisition broker and help your clients find and purchase their commercial property. Or you could focus on dispositions and help your clients sell their commercial property. Drilling down further into brokerage, you could focus on one or some of the major 5 food groups of commercial real estate. You could choose to focus on mixed use, multifamily, retail, industrial, or office leasing. The options are endless within the commercial real estate industry. Be sure to follow us on social media. You can find us on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, and be sure to subscribe. We put all of our webinars on the YouTube platform, so your geography won't stop you from missing an AREP beat. I want to give a special shout out to Kinetic Concepts for helping us stream today's events, and Alex Vestretti, who is a 16-year-old African-American producer from Atlanta. And Alex created the AREP ATL theme song that you heard at the beginning of our festivities. Again, thank you for attending today's fireside chat. We hope you found it insightful and informative. More importantly, we hope that you leave inspired. Please spread the wealth and the knowledge into our communities, and remember, there is wealth generation in the transfer of information. Thank you.